future is now. And welcome to the Svk Crypto Podcast. 15 minutes of crypto fame.
My name's Charles Story. I'll be your host for the next 15 minutes. We're coming live from the City of London, so let's get down to business. Today is Thursday, the 9th of November 2017, so let's get into the levels. Bitcoin's currently trading at $7,216, which is down to 3% over 24 hours. Ethereum, which is currently at $313, which is up 5%. Ripple is at 21 cents, which is also up 3%. And Litecoin is at $62, which has had 0% change in the last 24 hours. It's great to see that the altcoins are starting to push back up. Bitcoin had a wild night last night, but we'll get into that the next part of the show. Let's get into it.
Crypto News Flash. Find the crypto news stories from around the world.
First story today, we're going to be discussing what's going on in China. Are the crypto traders in China still trading crypto? And if so, how are they doing that? So without a shadow of doubt, let's get into it. China became the first country to take a hardline approach to ICOs, then moved on to Bitcoin and the exchanges that trade the digital currency. Despite these bold and brazen efforts, Bitcoin's price is higher than ever, and the currency continues to be a factor in China. Where there's a will, there's a way, and Chinese investors are still managing to trade Bitcoin and buy into controversial ICOs. Fear of drop. The initial news of China's takedown of Bitcoin, which was timed with Jamie Dimon's slur on Bitcoin, caused the price to take a dive. As the price dropped from $5,000 to $3,000 on the news, the fear was that the further exclusion of a major Bitcoin player like China would erase Bitcoin's price gains this year. However, this has not been the case at all. Instead of a total shutdown, what's happened is the resourceful Chinese traders have adjusted their methods, switching to a private over-the-counter market. Over-the-counter Bitcoin trading has risen from about 5% at the beginning of September, before exchanges were shuttered, to about 20% a month later. This is according to data cited in a report by the National Committee of Experts on Internet Financial Security, a government-backed research group. Change in tactics. Traders have had to move with the times to stay relevant in the Bitcoin market, which has also been a huge change which we've seen in the messaging app to affect these peer-to-peer trades. State-controlled messaging app WeChat has seen an exodus in Bitcoin related that as more neutral Telegram has picked up the slack. So what's happened is the state-controlled WeChat users have started using Telegram, which isn't controlled or state-controlled in China. Just a bit of background there. This is where the Chinese population has found aid in making over-the-counter trades. Mining mission. There are still plenty of issues for miners to overcome in China due to the regulations. Many have fled to China's hinterland in Gansu and Inner Mongolia, where cheap electricity can power massive rigs. This new peer-to-peer market, however, is still young and not liquid enough to allow these miners to set up the sale for their newly minted coins, according to Thomas Glucksmann, head of marketing for Gatecoin. This is what he said. There are lots of questions about the future of Chinese miners, given that they still need to pay their staff in operations in renminbi. It's either a case of migrating their operations or facilitating renminbi cash out through the over-the-counter market. Wow, what a story. Let's get on to the next one. The second story today is going to be discussing Tim Draper, the billionaire investor. Now, Tim Draper is a very controversial figure in the cryptocurrency space because his if you like, baby Tezos has had a high action lawsuit case brought against them. However, he's still very bullish on Bitcoin. He's invested in the likes of Tesla, Skype, Twitter. So he's a very respected investor. So let's get into it and let's see what he has to say. Tim Draper has every reason to be bullish on Bitcoin, as he has seen his $20 million investment in the digital currency grow by over 1,000% in the last 3 years. Draper is now predicting that in 5 years, fiat will be so obsolete it will be laughable. The tech investor has made a fortune backing companies like Skype, Tesla, and Twitter. He first got involved in Bitcoin after he bought 30,000 of them in 2014 in a government auction of assets seized from Silk Road. What an investment, I have to say. Don't be a laughingstock. While Draper may be on the defensive after his ICO baby Tezos became embroiled in scandal leading to a class action lawsuit, he is still highly bullish about the future of the granddaddy of digital currencies. Draper told Forbes, in 5 years, if you try to use fiat currency, they will laugh at you. Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies will be so relevant, there'll be no reason to have fiat currencies. Bitcoin and the rest of the cryptocurrency market recently made it over $200 billion in market cap in a rally that saw Wall Street again add fuel to the fire by announcing trading in Bitcoin. Trading Bitcoin futures, This pales in comparison to the trillions of dollars in the global fiat currency supply. Nonetheless, the fact that Bitcoin has appreciated over 600% this year is reason enough to believe it is on a rocketing trajectory, aiming at the fiat market. Fiat bound. Draper goes on to explain how fiat has its limitations, the same limitations that are really starting to bug a progressive and forward-thinking global population. Crossing the border for any currency is never a pleasing or easy exercise. The Nigerian naira drops 30% when you cross the border. Outside Argentina, the country's peso is currently worthless, and there are other countries where this is the same as well. In Zimbabwe and Venezuela, their currencies have either disappeared totally or are on the brink of total collapse. And already Bitcoin is doing its bit to pick up the pieces, seeing a future for ICOs. Draper may have been stung by Teslas, however, he still sees a future for altcoins and ICOs. The billionaire sees a future for hundreds, if not thousands, of different digital coins. Draper added, there are going to be intolerant people to this, and there will be exchange rates for all of them. My guess is when it is centralized around a wallet that you have, and when you pay for that Starbucks, your wallet will optimize to whichever currency has most value. Wow, what a story. With that in mind, let's get on to the next one. The next story we're going to go over is regarding, once again, what's going on with the CME and what's going on in the bigger picture as well with the institutions. So let's get into it. Bitcoin, a bet on a bubble about to burst, ? Nevertheless, this month, Leo, chairman of the CME group, predicted that the cryptocurrency will go on to become a new asset class alongside gold and traditional stocks. Yet, the persistent doubts are understandable. After all, Bitcoin has nothing behind it. No central bank and no government, and is entirely intangible asset. There are no physical Bitcoins, only balances kept on a public ledger in the cloud. That, along with all Bitcoin transactions, is verified by a massive amount of computing power. And yet the value of the cryptocurrency has soared, making millionaires of people who invested in it in the early days. But there is still plenty of cynicism around Bitcoins. As recently as September, JP Morgan Chase chief executive Jamie Dimon called the cryptocurrency a fraud. Boo! Such misgivings often stem from Bitcoin's impulsive rapid rise in value. In late 2016, one Bitcoin was worth around $770, £586. A single Bitcoin is now worth $7,300, nearly 10 times as much in fact. The value of Bitcoin has surged 750% this year, from $973 in January to the current price you see now. It would be a brave investor who choose to completely ignore Mr. Dimon's warnings 2 months ago. And growth of the kind seen by Bitcoin this year would lead to most savvy market watchers to speculate that this is not only a bubble, but this is about to burst. I don't agree with that whatsoever. Nevertheless, the fact is the CME will allow investors to trade futures in Bitcoins has helped boost the price of the cryptocurrency still further. But surely most investors are going to want to understand it better first before they risk their real hard cash. Otherwise, they are simply taking a bet on the price of something that doesn't necessarily exist. Ultimately, that's the problem with Bitcoin. It isn't backed by central banks. More to the point, the central banks are beginning to get onto the act themselves by exploring blockchain technology to create their own cryptocurrencies. But with one subtle difference, theirs will have government backing. Leo from the CME group may be right that Bitcoin could well be traded in the same way as other currencies are. If we are willing to look past the fact that this is the very existence relies on an extremely robust computer program. But what will people do if the whole thing crashes? Presumably the answer will be to turn everything off and reboot the system. With that in mind, let's get on to the next part of the show.
Top Twitter tweet of the day.
Alright, first Twitter tweet of the day is from Chris, and you can go follow him at CBURNISKE, Cryptonuski. Epic battle in the Bitcoin markets right now between traders selling due to no B2X dividend and investors buying due to no #SegWit2X. I love it. And you can see here he's got a chart where Bitcoin went upwards of $7,900 before dropping all the way down to around $7,000, which was an absolute epic move. So shout out to Chris. We love what you do. We love your content. Keep the good work up. Second tweet today, or top Twitter tweet today, is from Alistair Milne, and you can go follow him, Alistair Milne, at Alistair Milne, sorry. And his tweet is, the 2X fork is dead. Long live Bitcoin. Woohoo! With that in mind, let's get on to the next part of the show.
SVK's current global crypto view.
So let's get into it. Before we go into some analysis, I want to say one thing. Last time we had Shane Kehoe on the show, which was last Tuesday, and you should definitely go check that podcast out because it was fantastic. He was talking about sector rotation in the space. And this is something we're starting to see. So if you remember when I gave the levels at the beginning of the show, Bitcoin was down, and we started seeing the altcoins make a move up. So I don't know if any of the loyal listeners out there would have noticed that when we first started doing the show, Litecoin was around $50. It's now at 62. And that's quite a big move. You're looking at, in comparison, 10, 15, 20%. It's still down 30, 35% from its all-time highs. But we're seeing the altcoins on a rally back up. Now, it's not a Bitcoin rally where it's moving $1,000 in the space of 48 hours. But you know what? We're seeing a steady progressive move, which is fantastic to see. And it's good to see that the all-time market cap is at a high around $202 billion, and that's going to be climbing steadily each and every day. So it's great to see. And with that in mind, let's get into this analysis we've got. I just want to say one thing. What we're doing here today is going over an ICO and seeing if it's worth buying now after the ICO has commenced. So just real quick, the ICO initially was an offer for 4 cents. It's currently trading at just over 10 cents, which is down around 65%. So is it worth getting into this ICO now? Is it not? I'd love to hear your views. Let's get into it. So the project name is Decentraland. The token ticker is MANA. So what do? Decentraland is creating a virtual world similar to the game Second Life. Powered by the Ethereum blockchain, the platform enables developers to build and monetize applications on top of it. Users will be able to explore the world, interact with others, buy and sell virtual items, run applications on different parcels of land, among other things. How advanced is the project? The team began working on Decentraland since 2015. Initially, the digital real estate was implemented on a pixel on a 2D grid, where each pixel contained metadata, identifying the owner and describing the pixel's color. The experiment was entitled Decentraland Stone Age. In late 2016, the team started developing the Bronze Age, a 3D virtual world divided into land parcels. Here is a screenshot of the web demo, so you can go check that out, and I recommend go visit them on the website decentraland.org to go and see all of what they're currently working on at the minute. They've got tons of good images on there, good short clips on how it works. Let's get into the facts here. So, maximum cap at the ICO was $50 million, which they did not raise. I believe they raised around $30 million. Conversion rate, 1 mana equals 4 cents. We already know that. There was no soft cap. Hard cap was $25 million, which is interesting because that's sort of the market cap there. 40% of total token supply of hard cap is reached. So that's what that would equal. We're also looking at the distribution date, the timeline, which is August 8th to the 16th. Now, as I said, this is down around 65%. So some of these ICOs, they have a lot of hype behind them. They're doing massive marketing campaigns. And then what happens is after the ICO, they lose attraction. They lose what they originally had, the hype around them. So some of them, as this one had, it's down 65%. So the question is it better to buy them after the ICO finishes when the hype loses? Or if the hype loses, does that mean that's a bad ICO and you shouldn't get involved to begin with? That's a question I pose to you guys listening. with that in mind, that's a wrap. I got to bounce. Like us, follow us, subscribe us, email us, tweet us, share us with anyone who's interested in the crypto space. Thanks for listening. I look forward to speaking tomorrow. Cheers, guys.
You've been listening to an SVK Crypto Podcast original. Follow us on Twitter at SVK_crypto. Email us on cstory@svkcrypto.com. Leave us a message on our website, www.svkcrypto.com.